Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and it's the best of 2022 finale. So, what you've been waiting for. And I'm going to keep it just a tiny bit longer because I've been doing this for a while now. It's worth thinking about some of the ones I've done before and like where they stand in my estimation now. So, I can't remember the exact order I did these in, but Undone by Blood, Aftershock Comics one's absolutely fantastic. I literally recommended that to buy it for a friend of mine this Christmas. I like it that much, I'm still pushing it in my shop. I think Kieran Gillen's Die was there one year, and I love it so much that I'm genuinely tempted to buy, you might even be able to see behind there, the big, shiny hardback ones. Even though I've got all the single issues in my collection, I still want that big hardback, and I back the Kickstarter for the RPG. Absolutely love it. What else is on there? The Daniel Warren Johnson Murder Falcon, which again I keep recommending to people. It is one of the best examples I have of how you draw motion and action in comic books, and also how you manage a roller coaster emotional journey. He does all those things to perfection. And the most recent one, and definitely this one, is Far Sector. N.K. Jemisin and Jamal Campbell doing a brilliant story, and it's one of those things where it shouldn't make sense, it shouldn't be interesting to me, but it is a POC queer cop in space. And if it wasn't N.K. Jemisin doing it, I think I would have hated it, but it ended up being absolutely fantastic. All these things have maintained in my life have been fantastic comics I keep talking about and I keep telling people to read. This next one I think is not going to need any help from me. I have been following this creator pretty much since this one started, and I picked up something else they've done. And on Twitter, the amount of people who are saying that this one is going to be in their best of the year list, and the people are going to carry on reading it for a very long time, even with some slight delays, it deserves it. 20th Century Men. It is fantastic in every single way. First of all, I want to call out Denise Camp for the writing it, S. Morian for doing the art, and Adita Bidikar for doing the lettering, all of which are fantastic people and do a fantastic job throughout. What this comic is about is it's almost like a classic pulp story of heroes, like low-key, low-powered heroes in real-world settings. And I like this as a genre. I think it can be interesting. I think you can do interesting stuff with it. I've seen TKO do something with the Fearsome Dr. Fang where they subvert Orientalism really quite effectively. And this one is all about war stories and war heroes and super soldier kind of things. And pretty much every super soldier story you're going to read about. I'm thinking Bloodshot off the top of my head and... a US agent. There are always stories about not necessarily good people, because pretty much every war that has ever been fought is basically part of a militaristic complex in some way, or it's nationalism, or going for money and power. The wars are not good, they're not friendly things, they're not something you should be cheering on. The exception being Captain America, because historically speaking, and yes, there's grey areas and other people actually study thing can tell you more about it, but the last 100 odd years is probably the only like truly honourable or ethical war that's being like going and fighting the Nazis was a good thing. I'm not going to say it wasn't. So Captain America being of that war, it kind of makes sense that he is held up as a true blue hero, but so many other attempts at super soldier serums have turned out to be bad guys because they're used for wars which were more about making money and claiming territory, imperialism, colonialism, yay. This one is set during the Cold War, and it is Russia versus America with the wars in Afghanistan. And it is absolutely fascinating because it shows like the nature of jingoism that was going on at the time, and the lifting up of soldiery and the glorification of war, which were huge things. And presidents and leaders basically came to power and stayed in power because of things like this. In my own country, I remember Margaret Thatcher basically doing the Falklands War when she was struggling. It's a fairly common vote-winning strategy, and it makes a lot of money because the people who are going to bankroll politicians have a lot of money, and they make a lot of money through arms and armory and things like that. And it's big, complicated political issues that are worth talking about, because these wars are fought when there's no real heroes in them. There's no real good guys versus bad guys kind of situation. It is all bad, but it still managed to be sympathetic for the characters involved, because it's easy to look at people who go to fight in wars, and when they die, you know, you're sad about it when everyone dies, but people are generally more sad about like civilian casualties, which is perfectly acceptable. I'm not saying that is an incorrect way to think, but when you live in countries where military might is fetishized, and basically everyone tells you that being a soldier and going off and dying for your country is the best thing you can do, then it's easy to look at these people who even volunteer to join the army, and then the indoctrination kicks up a gear when they're in the army and go all gung-ho and buy into racist stereotypes and the belief that the people in charge know what they're doing. When they die, it's easy to be less sympathetic. I think this comic book does a really good job of making sure that we know exactly how wars are fought and what it means to the people involved in them, and whether or not these people have actual honourable, decent reasons for doing what they're doing. It is still a war fought by people for people who don't necessarily deserve it. For by the people who are fighting the war are the ones who are going to suffer for it, and the civilians around them as well. It is an intensely anti-war comic book, but. And here's the rub, here's the amazing thing. It's also just a fantastic comic book. There are superb bits of action and horror in here. There's wonderfully inventive layouts, and the colouring and the artistry is absolutely fantastic. There's even just wonderful onomatopoeia. And I've mentioned this before in various reviews. I like onomatopoeia. I like when it's used inventively. I like in Bloodshot Unleashed when there's lots of bang, and the BANG is actually the frame of the panel. I love stuff like that. In this one, we have a helicopter landing in, I think it was Vietnam at the time, and the sound of the helicopter is fuck. Just perfect, just brilliant. A simple, effective way of like giving you a sense of what this war is without seeming to do that much. It's amazing and beautiful, and I love it. And we have brilliant characters throughout as well. We have like the actual super soldiers who are, none of them particularly good guys, but some believe they are good, some don't. Some embrace the fact that they know that the wars and they are fought in, or the wars they are fighting in, are terrible, horrible things, and see an almost Apocalypse Now kind of viewpoint of just like, we are already the bad guys in this world. Why stop? Why worry about morality? We are going to be cheered on when we get home anyway, or we're going to be hated when we get home anyway. It honestly doesn't matter. But then there are people who see the high ideals of statehood, and the idea that there is bad guys in this war, and there is reason to fight beyond just the military-industrial complex. And then there's the people caught in the middle who are struggling and fighting against both sides because they just happen to live where the war is taking place. Every one of these characters is fleshed out and wonderful, and they all look amazing. When I did my first review of this, the two things I was vaguely critical of were the fact that if you're not a follower of politics or military history, the Cold War situation was incredibly complicated, and this comic book doesn't necessarily spoon-feed you anything. It goes in with an expectation that you know what's going on, and I thought that might put people off. It doesn't. I actually have enjoyed every single issue, and I'm finding out more as I'm reading it, and I'm loving an awful lot of the stuff whether it seems to be realistic or inspired by real things, and I love that down to the ground. The other thing was the art, because as much as I liked the art, it was inconsistent stylistically. The quality was always through the roof, always absolutely fantastic, but it jumped around on the page a little bit, and there were times when it was clean line, there were times when it was scratchy, there's times when the colours were so bold, times it was washed out. And as I've progressed, and again, just on the second reading of the first issue, I was changing my mind on it and realising how good it was that they did it this way, and how much freedom it gave the creators, working together to exemplify mood and setting and tone so much more effectively than if they were just doing like an in-house style kind of thing, where it'd be a lot more challenging. And I think you'd have to do a lot more dialogue on the page. You'd have to have a lot more exposition to explain things, because the art would have been a bit too simple to get across. These huge, complicated ideas, they exist in complicated spaces, even with regard to morals and politics and economics. These things are not easy to describe, but allowing the artistic freedom to make every single page, every single panel within that page do exactly what it needs to do at the time. Yeah, it might not look easily accessible to somebody looking to casually browse a comic book, but the rewards you get for this one when you actually delve beneath it and realize what they're trying to do and how intensely focused the story is on every single beat they're telling. It reminds me a little bit of Moorcock's writing in this kind of style, where everything matters and it all is important, and he takes the time to do it. This uses the artwork to great effect with that, and it is a complete and utter work. There is no one thing which cannot be as good as it was if it wasn't supported by everything else, from the layouts to the actual writing and the dialogue, to the overarching story, to the colour choices, to the lettering, to the onomatopoeia. Everything about it works in a way which is spectacular. And honestly, not even like, I've reviewed some great things this year, and I'm not saying things that are on the rest of this top 10 list or top 14 list for that matter aren't fantastic, but it does feel like this one has just gone above everything in its own little ways across the board. And yeah, honestly, you need to be reading it. It's a hard one to read, but trust me, you'll get rewards from it. I mean, we're only 4 issues in at the moment, I think, and issue 5 or 6 has been delayed, but get on it as quick as you can. You do not want to miss out on this one. Order the trade from your local comic book store. See if they've got back issues you can pick up. Just please grab it. It is absolutely amazing. That's it from me for now. There's going to be a bit of a break until the new year, so if you don't see me for a while, don't worry about it. I'm still here. And, well, until I see you again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.